What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Another episode propping up. We got just a couple games here on this Wednesday on Gold Boys Network. We're brought to you by Pickett and Boom Fantasy. So thank you to both of them. I'm joined by Walla as always. How we doing? How's your week been? How you feeling today?
All right. It's been a kind of even week for me. Started off good, of course, when we had our show, which seems to be the trend. And then, yesterday was a little rough. Couldn't believe Hagel couldn't get two shots. That really messed me up there. But yeah, I think I just got excited against Anaheim again. But Tampa is not Florida. Yeah, everybody went over on Florida.
I know, but Tampa still got what 40 shots. It was just very widely dispersed.
Yep.
And they certainly delivered on the goals end. I'm a little disappointed in myself for not doing a little bit more with their goals. Yeah, Hagel was definitely a letdown. He was probably my favorite play of the day, so always a bummer when that doesn't come through.
Yeah.
Was able to limit the bleeding a little bit for myself. Not a good day. Started off really bad. Um, got a couple late hits, but what are you gonna do? New day. Um, Only 3 games, but I think there's an angle in each of them. So might as well get started. We always say this probably won't take an hour, and then before we know it, it's 12:50. Uh, so might as well dive in. First game, Winnipeg Islanders. Probably my favorite for shots. Uh, just the only game that I can feel good about shots on both ends. I don't know if you have anything yet in this game or are leaning in any sort of way.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards a couple guys here. I know one of them you like, and it's probably one of the only straight plays I like today, but I'll leave that one for you. I thought Winnipeg looked pretty interesting. There's a couple, what's up, Cat? There's a couple plays here, a couple guys who've been just doing really well on the road. One that stuck out to me was Dubois. He's been pretty awesome, over his last 20 games or so. Steady with his shots, and yeah, I just thought if you're looking for a parlay piece, he's been really good on the road too, hitting his line a lot. Islanders, I don't think are a scary target, so he was somebody I thought could be good as a parlay piece today. Or if they do alt lines, I mean, he two shots, he has like a 75% hit rate for the season. So that's a guy I think could be looked at today on Winnipeg side.
Yeah, I got nothing wrong with that one. Road volume is solid. I think this is a good example. Something I think I mentioned Monday, but I think for a while, if a lot of things added up to make sense, and then I saw that he hadn't been hitting against that team that had been pushing me to not play it. I'm trying to get away from that a little bit because it's not 100% predictive just because a guy hasn't gone over yet. How often does the flip side happen? Like Jack Hughes last night, 7 shots, 2 straight against Montreal, ends with 3 that she got all in the third period. Uh, so when I do see enough boxes checked off, sure, it's a bummer if they haven't hit before, but I'm trying to not let that be the end all because it isn't. I think guys like Dubois are a good example of, yeah, he's had a couple down games against the Islanders, but New York's been letting up a ton of shots, especially at home, over 32, and they got a couple big games in there recently. So I think the Jets are well positioned for 32 plus shots.
Yeah,
Dubois steady Eddie.
we got somebody asking about Morrissey, which I think, yeah, he had a couple games here against what he had Devils and the Rangers because he was kind of rolling before that. I think this is a better spot for him, especially I think. I mean, I don't know maybe their most recent numbers, but pretty overall, Islanders have been an okay target for defensemen.
Real
Morrissey
good.
has, yeah. I just couldn't. I couldn't tell you the last 10 off the top of my head, but he has his last 2 games against them 3-5, so I can see there's some nice history there, and stats do kind of line up. He has a lot of volume, which kind of dropped off last game in a big way against the Rangers. Only 1 attempt, but yeah, this is a better target. So if he gets that volume back to what it was just that stretch before that, which was insane. 7 attempts, 10 attempts, 9 attempts. Drops down to 5, and then 11, 9, 10. So if he has that in this matchup, then 2.5 at plus money looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, Islanders letting up fifth most to defensemen last 10. So I do think it looks good. I mean, you even poke around prop side cash, you can see positions versus a team. A lot of defensemen hitting lately against the Islanders. I I don't hate Morrissey at all. I was just a little scared off by how inconsistent he's been on the road. Um, was my concern. But there are a couple tougher targets sprinkled in there that could explain it. But I don't know. Still sketched me out a little bit, so I went elsewhere. But I think it's a fine look and makes sense positional wise that he gets his shots tonight.
Yeah, actually, in two of those road misses too, because it does his hit rate drops against the Devils in Nashville. He had 7 and 8 attempts in those games and went under, so he still had volume there. Uh, but yeah, before this explosion in volume, honestly, he wasn't really reliable anywhere. I think it just happened at a stretch where there was kind of more home games, if that makes sense. But if he gets it in this matchup, it's a good spot. And there's not really many plays today, I think, that uh, look great as straight plays. There's a lot of juiced plays. So him at plus money, that's actually not that bad. And that wasn't even the guy I was originally talking about, too.
One straight play I did do on Winnipeg. You might have seen it. I imagine if you're here, you probably follow me in some capacity. But I put in Kyle Connor shots over 3.5 at plus 102. I might have flagged this. We might have had a stream last time he was on the road, but his volume away from Winnipeg is just awesome lately. Um, Overall, he's hit in 6 of his last 8 on the road, which is great. But his attempts um, and the amount of shots on goal he's been getting are awesome. If you just look at his last 8 on the road, that's kind of when this uptick happened. He's averaging 5.1 shots on goal per game on 8.25 attempts. So that's volume in a game I like for shots that I'm happy to follow. So I really like the price, and I liked also poking around on recent games against the Islanders and just seen a lot of these high profile forwards hitting their shots lately when they see New York. So Kyle Connor certainly fits the bill there. A couple massive games too. I mean, Raquel 8, Rust had 7, Chuck had 9, Besser had 5. There's some big games sprinkled in here, so I don't hate. I mean, Kyle Connor, his line's 3.5. He's only hit 4 in one of his last 8. He's got 5 or more in 5 of those. So don't hate looking at him for a ladder, but that plus 102, 3.5, I grabbed that. And he's another, not a ton of recent history against the Islanders, but I'm saying screw that because that's not everything. So I'll
Yeah,
flag that, but I liked everything else.
yeah. The volume's been there for a bit now on the road, even from before the break. So uh, that he's showing that he's shooting when they're on away ice, and those trends can be pretty important. So that was the one that I was kind of alluding to. I think that one looks pretty good today. I mean, he's been hitting, what's that? 4 of his last 6 uh, since the break, 3 of 5. So he's been hitting his line, some good volume. I like that one.
On the flip side, I was interested in Islanders shots. You know, obviously I bring together these last 10. Winnipeg last 10 allowing 32.1. I think we should acknowledge that that is certainly bumped up by allowing 51 on Monday to the Rangers because they were holding teams under 30 at a pretty steady rate. But I'm kind of Islanders offense has definitely come alive since Horvat was added. So that plus I don't know maybe those leaks carry over. I mean 51 shots to the Rangers is obviously a crap ton to see. So I'm hoping that continues. I think a couple guys on the Islanders look pretty good, but I'm just a sucker for the volume right now. Said it a couple times, but I've just been trying to find the highest volume shooter on a team in that location, and right now I'm seeing Brock Nelson as the guy for me. Um, last 5, He's over in 3 of 5, averaging 4.2 shots on goal on 7 attempts, 5 or more, all 3 of those hits. I don't know. In a game I like a lot of shots, he was plus 132 earlier. He's still plus 130. I just felt like the one for me. He's had nice success against Winnipeg, too. Last 4 games, I think 15 total shots on goal um, and 3 goals. So,
Yep.
I like Brock today.
Yeah, he's definitely picked up the shooting, especially from earlier on in the season. Volume's looking a lot better now. The 3.5 line, not used to seeing that for him, but yeah, he's been hitting it recently. Nice volume. I think, yeah, a lot of people are probably looking at Anders Lee today. He has a pretty insane history, to say the least, against Winnipeg. He has a point in 15 of 16 meetings, a goal in 13 of those. He gets a lot of shots against them, and right now he's hit that line, his shots line, in 4 straight games. And for him, 5 attempts is pretty decent volume because he's good at converting them to like getting them on net. So I think he's a guy you could kind of look at too in this matchup. I put a half unit on his goal, just riding that trend. 13 games out of 16 with a goal against them is pretty impressive, and he's got 3 goals in his last 3 games. So I took a shot on that one.
Yeah, you must have flagged this to me a while ago because they haven't even played yet this year, but I've had bet Anders League goals set my reminders for today for I don't know how long. So it's always fun when I see those reminders and then I get to look up why they're set on my phone. Because I looked up Anders Lee Monday against Winnipeg. I'm like, oh, this is why. Um, yeah, I actually put a full unit on his goal. A bummer for us. We missed out on the best price. It's currently plus 205 on DraftKings. And I think it's great that, that history is awesome, but it's coinciding with him just coming alive.
Hmm.
He's got 3+ shots in 4 straight. He's got 5 points in his last 3, and as you mentioned, 3 of them being goals. So I don't hate him for shots either. Um, I like that. Yeah, he's actually producing as well. It's not just a shot in the dark on a guy who hasn't scored in a long time. So I
Yeah,
think he looks awesome. Even his point prop is very reasonable. Um, I don't necessarily love this game for goals. I'd love it if Hellebeck is not in. I'm not sure if he's been confirmed or not, but have to back that history.
yeah. His point does look pretty good though. I mean, minus 132, and like I said, he's had a point in like all but one meeting against them. And past history isn't everything, but that's just what Griffey was saying. He's actually in good form right now with his shooting. If you look at his, like I said, if you look at his chart for the season, 5 attempts is like high for him, and he has a very good percentage of like shots to attempts to shots on goal. So it makes sense that he's also starting to score a bit when you see him. If you look at his charts for games where he's getting shots going over his shots line, um, yeah, I'm clicking back and forth, and it makes sense. That's where a good amount of the goals are coming. So I don't mind taking the chance here when he has this volume.
Anything else in this game that you had down?
Um, those were the main ones I think that stuck out to me, and I'm trying not to get too carried away today since it's a small slate.
Yeah. All right, let's keep it moving then. Chicago, Dallas. I think this is an obviously inviting matchup on the Dallas end. Chicago, um, curiously, has been kind of tight to shots at home, but not so on the road at all. And love that they're on a back-to-back too. Went to overtime last night. So Dallas, who hasn't been scoring that much at home, this seems like a nice time to get back on the right track here. Although I will say, I mean, Stauber, I don't know how you pronounce this Blackhawks goalie name. he hasn't been bad. He's letting up around 3 goals a game, but he's been a little bit more serviceable in net. But I think Dallas looks good shots and goals here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of enticing stuff on that side tonight. I think if we're starting with shots, I think the most obvious one to me, anyway. I mean, I know there's a lot that look good, but Heiskanen. Just think if you're looking for a steady guy, uh, he's been so reliable this season. At home, he has a great hit rate. Um, this matchup, I was looking. He can go back and forth in this particular matchup, but as Griffey said, Chicago's letting up more shots on the road, and yeah, I think he's been great. He's a little too juiced for me, so I would, have to pair him with something. But his volume's awesome these last few games. Uh, I think it was like 8.8 attempts over his last five, and some really big ones in the last three. So I liked him in this spot as just like if you're looking for a couple legs as a parlay, that would be the guy I would look at.
Yeah, I mean, it probably doesn't matter because yeah, he is shooting like crazy, and it is a game. I think Dallas is probably getting 35 plus. Um, the only reason I'm not going to him is that for all the shots Chicago allows, not so many are coming from defensemen. Just a personal preference. I need a defenseman to be like in the top 15 allowed for me to back him, and Chicago's actually allowing the 12th fewest in the last 10.
Mm,
Um,
Yeah,
but
that's
his
fair.
volume's absurd. Volume's absurd. So I think it's a fine bet. But that's
He's
why
hit
I'm
in tough
staying off of
matchups
him.
too. That was all. He's hit in some tough matchups, I think. But that's true. Chicago, surprisingly, that was where they're more tight to shots. But I know you're on a guy, I think a couple plays here. So if you want to talk about him,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good night to go to Jason Robertson. Um, his price has moved. Best price earlier was minus 110 for his shots, which I just thought was quite the bargain. Um, again, it's volume. I mean, last five, he's averaging 9.2, but I think it's worth acknowledging he does have a 17 attempt game in there. Um, but even throwing that out there, he's still averaging around 7.5 shots in his last four. If you throw out that fifth monster one, and just in a matchup like this where I think they're going to get so many shots, I was just surprised to see him at that price. So even though he hasn't been hitting that steady at home, again, it's volume. I feel like I just keep saying volume at this point, but that's what I've been relying on. And last 2 times the Blackhawks have come to Dallas, he's got 7 and 8 shots. I also did his goal.
yeah,
Um, our buddy Ao's on his goal. He loves scoring against Chicago. 4 in his last two. Um, going back further, I believe he's got a goal in like I don't know 4 or 5 of his last 6 against him, something like that.
yeah,
So I like shots. I like goals. So I did both.
yeah. That I think he looks great today. I prefer the goal over shots just because I don't know. I think recently it just kind of seems like a little bit less volume. He still has some nice games there, especially at home. Don't get me wrong. Just from like an overall point of view of his chart, it looks like it's down a bit, but he's got he had a goal a few games ago, and I just think these are the guys where when they go quiet for a game or two, and they have a really nice spot, they can if he gets the volume, I just imagine one of them can turn into a goal. So I lean goal for him in this matchup. But yeah, he looks great today. I put a half unit on a guy who, if you're gonna just look at his chart, it doesn't make much sense. He pretty much only ever like lands on two. It feels like for shots. But I brought this up on the show the last time they played, which was um, way earlier in the season. But Tyler Sagan against the Blackhawks, he like goes over his shots line so much. I don't know the total number, but at least in his last 25 meetings, he's hit the 2.5 line 24 times. So all but one. And he landed on two in that miss, which, if they do give alt lines, two looks great. 77% hit rate on the season. And like I said, just a crazy history against Chicago. but I put a half unit on it. He's been better on the road, which they're at home, and like I said, 2 is where he lands. But I don't know. I couldn't ignore that history. I mean, last season I kind of played it. I played it both times that they played, and then earlier this season I didn't pull the trigger on it, and he got 4 shots on goal. And even when you look at his chart, then he had gone under 10 straight games before that meeting, and then put up 4 shots on goal. So, I'll take the shot on it. It was at plus 120 earlier for a half unit, just because it's just crazy to me that he can do it that many times. I'll 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 trust him to maybe get there. He has a nice floor too, anyway. So just get that one extra shot for me.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the right time to take a shot like that. That chart is you look that up on StatMuse. It's hilarious. Um,
And it's not just
um,
3.
I
It's
know,
like
yeah,
4.
it's some monster games. I
Yeah.
am probably going to play it safe. I'm going to do Sagan two with something. Um, Maybe Hannafin, who we'll get to that game in a little bit. Um, Maybe something else too. But yeah, I mean, guy always hits two, but sometimes he does go over. So seems like about that time for him to do that tonight.
Yeah.
Think it's a fun one.
There's
I
one other play I really like. Sorry. Just wanted to get into that one before I forgot. Hint's point. I think it goes hand in hand with your Robertson play anyway, because a majority of his points against Chicago are assists. So I think that's some obvious correlation there that he's assisting on these Robertson goals that we're seeing. But I think his point looks great as a parlay piece today. Um, Juice minus 205, uh, assists, better price, but way better hit rate for point. And at home, he has a 73% hit rate for a point and 11 points in his last 5 games against Chicago. So I think that looks really great today. And like I said, uh, mostly assists in that particular matchup, but this season point just looks better. So I'm thinking about using that in something, and it was kind of one of the legs I was looking at was Hannafin, which you hinted at anyway. So we can cover that in a little bit.
Yeah, I what I was going to say sort of like then goes hand in hand with the idea of point is just in general Dallas goals. You could easily. I was hoping for a better price, but if you wanted to maybe load up, say over 3.5 for Dallas, you'd still have to pair it with something. But I think that's a nice leg. I mean, last 5 meetings they've gone for 4 plus, and 4 of them. Last 2 have been identical 6-4 games for Dallas. So I certainly expect them to score here. If you don't want to need a certain player to be involved and just want to see that score go up, I think throwing in their team total could be a nice play today.
Yep.
But yeah, I know Hintz. I think Pavelski has a pretty nice history against Chicago. A lot of guys look good here.
Yeah, it all makes sense when Robertson scoring that much. Those are his line mates, so they're getting involved in that. And yeah, Pavelski has a lot of points against Chicago as well. Just Hintz has the better overall hit rate this season, but that line, I'm sure they're gonna get theirs tonight.
That was about it. I'm not looking at the Blackhawks end for anything. Only 3 games, but just because there's only 3 games doesn't mean I need to force something. And I hope people watching don't do that either. I mean, if this was a bigger slate, not for 1 second would I look at Chicago for shots or goals. So I'm not going to now, just because we have more time on our hands. Um, so a lot of games yesterday, a lot of games tomorrow. It's okay to go a little light when there's not so many games.
Yeah, I mean that's how I end up killing myself half the time anyway. With the a lot of the times the plays that you look at too much, you spend too much time on, and then when I eventually side with it, it doesn't come through, and it's like there was a reason why I took so long to finally lock that play in, and yeah, then it doesn't hit. Like yesterday, I know first 2 plays I put in were Hughes power play point and Hughes over 1.5 points, and that ended up being all that came through for me. So sometimes you don't want to overthink all this stuff anyway. So let's keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean, if for some reason you must have a shot on goal play in Chicago, only thing I'd throw out there is Seth Jones because Dallas is a good defenseman target. He's hitting three straight against Dallas, and he just had 8 shots last night. So I'll throw that name out to the universe, but not my ideal game. All right, let's wrap it up then. Calgary, Arizona. I mean, on paper, Calgary should definitely get their shots off. And those last couple obvious matchups this week for shots have been delivering. I mean, Florida got 55 on the Ducks, Tampa got 40 something on the Ducks. This is another that Calgary, I know their line is 37.5 on Barstool, which I'm honestly considering taking. I currently don't have any plays on the Calgary end, but I know they're getting their shots. Um, I wish Vizmelka didn't just get yeah, just blown up last game, so I could trust him a little bit more for a saves line. But he let up a quick 5 to the Kings and got pulled. So I'm a little nervous of a repeat there. Um, do you have any plays locked in or guys circled?
Um, I got a couple names I'm liking. I mean, it sucks that kind of when you look through these, uh, the last matchup they had against Arizona, a lot of these guys fell flat on their face. Um, except for Toffoli, who had his 3 shots, but guess what? They bumped him up to 3.5. Took a lot longer than I expected. He's been hitting that 3 line so much, but he doesn't hit the 3.5, go over 3.5 nearly as often. Um, I would like him if there was the alt line of 3. No, he does. If you look back through his history against Arizona, the last few games he hasn't gone over this line. He does have some bigger games, but those are like way back, so not as relevant. So that one scares me a little bit. I was kind of liking, Mangiapane. He's been rolling. They bumped him up, which sucks, to 2.5. If he was still at the 1.5 line, I would be parlaying him with something. Would love to get his 2 shot alt line. His volume is really great right now, which if you wanted to take the chance on the 2.5, it makes sense based off his volume, but he just lands on 2 so often. I would love that alt
Always.
line today. Yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly, he's leading Calgary in power play shots last time, which I found interesting against a heavily penalized Arizona team. Uh, yeah, I think his 2 looks awesome. I think Toffoli is worth going back to for a second. Last year we were doing this every day. The stream that is, people were getting bumped up a ton. Um, and we talked about it this year. A lot of people that have been getting bumped up have been getting bumped up because they're flying over their line, and it makes us still feel good about backing them at the new number. Toffoli's been landing right at 3 a lot, and lately it's been kind of a sweat. So I would just be a little careful with him at 3.5. Guys probably treated you really well this year. He easily could get 5, 6, 7 shots, but I just don't love how often he's been landing at 3. I think the books had to put him up here at this 3.5 because he's been a free parlay leg all year, and it's a great matchup. But just something to keep in mind
Yeah.
if you're considering him.
We got a couple names in chat. I'll start with one of them I do actually like, and I was considering a play for, and then the other one it's another history one. Elias Lindholm. He's done well in this matchup. He hasn't been shooting nearly as much lately. I mean, his volume. He has some big games. Actually, it's just so sporadic. It's like somehow he's not getting any attempts on net despite all these attempts. Like huge attempt game, 7 and only 2 on net. Like, come on. If somebody's due for positive regression, I guess it's gotta be him with these attempts. Uh, but he's done really well in this matchup. Um, he's not scoring as much this season, but he scored in a few against Arizona, 4 straight now. So if you like those past trends, which we've been talking about, I talked about Sagan and we talked about Lee. So you know, this would fit the bill right there. Nice history against Arizona. Uh, just man, he has been inconsistent lately, despite some huge attempt games. But nice spot for him. And then Dubé, uh, he's been up on that top line, I believe, with Lindholm. His point doesn't look half bad right here. If he's still on that same line with them. He's got 3 points in his last two against Arizona. Over his last 5 games, he's got 8 points. That doesn't look half bad right here. Minus 116 for a point.
Yeah, he's been
Scored
shooting
against
a
them.
ton lately as well, or at least hitting his
Some,
shots on. He doesn't have the shots on goal line, but he keeps getting 3 shots, especially on the
uh,
road.
all 3 of those points against Arizona
Our
were
goals.
goals. It's been and his volume's up. Not a
Yeah,
bad
he's
look there for a point or a goal.
got 4, 4, and 5 shots in his last 3 against them as well. I wish,
Jeez.
like, this is a guy I wish we'd get a shot on goal line. I mean, he's hitting 4 straight on the road. Um, awesome history. The only I know that I'll be playing this shot line is Noah Hannafin. Arizona, great defenseman target. Hannafin on the road. His volume is awesome for only needing 2 shots. He's averaging 6.2 attempts per game in his last 5. Um, I didn't look back further, but I know he's hit this 1.5 line in at least 4 straight against Arizona. Let me see if that stretches out any further. He's gone for 2 in 7 of 8, 7 of his last 8 against Arizona. So I definitely would like to use his 1.5 in the parlay today. But this is the one where I just like a lot of guys in Calgary. I don't love them, so I kind of want to just take their team shots, or I don't know. I wish I could take the saves, but hard to trust Ishmelka, like I mentioned. But we were talking before if I don't know if this is a sign or not, but last time Calgary came to Arizona, it was 2-2 2022. They got 50 shots off, and today is 222. So all I know is that's a lot of twos, and that's a lot of shots. So, if you believe in the cosmic signs like that, maybe 50 shots, I might just end up taking their team total shots at 37.5 and rooting on everybody, not caring who it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually looking at this. I think I'm gonna play Dubé point. I That's just too good of a price. Seeing he's on the top line with you know, what's that, Toffoli and Lindholm. Lindholm has that nice history, so I know Dubé scored, but if Lindholm wants to pick up his history and score, and Dubé gets an assist, I'll take that. Toffoli's on the line with them, and then on the power play, he's with Toffoli, Backlund, Lindholm, and Hannafin. It's not bad, not a bad crew on the power play there. So I'm really liking that play actually. It's a really reasonable price for him to get a point.
Yeah, I think that's a super solid look. I may end up joining you. I do think Calgary could find some goals. I kind of want to. I know it didn't work last night with Martinook, but Peltier for a goal, long shot goal is something I got my eye on. He's on the second line and he's on power play 1. Yeah, in a game that Calgary should get a couple power play chances, and fresh off his most attempts and most time on ice last game. He only has 1 goal here this season, but I was just surprised to see him up there on power play shots. So I kind of want to sprinkle on him to score. It was like
Yeah,
plus 300. I wish the odds were a little better, but
there's
might
no
have to
point line,
sprinkle.
right?
No.
No, it's a bummer. I hate when they do that. I hate when there's like a player who's starting to get some time and like starting to produce, and they just only give you goal. I mean, he can, like you said, it could be the perfect storm there, everything coming together for him to score. It just sucks when they won't give you anything else to bet on.
I do like that Dupe point seems like a good flag. Uh,
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
could
play
join you
that.
on that.
It just makes
I,
sense, I think, here in this matchup.
yeah, I mean, I currently have no exposure in this game at all, and I'm gonna need some.
6 points his last 2 road games. I mean, it's not super consistent before that, but um, he also wasn't on this first line the whole season. So yeah, his power play
Yeah, I
minutes
mean,
are pretty good right now.
speaking of power play,
Couple
on the
power play
flip
points.
side,
Whew, plus 430. Okay, gotta stop looking.
on
I
the
don't.
I am a little interested in Arizona. I think Arizona could score on the power play here. They've been finding some of those lately. Got a pretty solid power play rate. Calgary's certainly been struggling with penalties as well, and their penalty kill has not been good lately. I think they've let in a power play goal in 5 of their last 7 or 5 of their last 6. Um, so I was just a little intrigued at that. Um, but I don't know. Chikrin skated yesterday at practice. And last I checked, I didn't know if he was playing or not for some reason. If he comes back, I don't like their power play as much. Just the mix into chemistry when something's finally working. Uh, so I may hold off for that reason, but looks interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of similar to what you said about Chicago before. If this was a big slate, I probably wouldn't pay much mind to Arizona in this spot.
I don't know. I mean, I put together these power play numbers every day, and there's a
Yeah, if they're
clear
speaking to
intersection of green.
you, yeah, that's speaking to you, then go for it. Who's doing stuff for them on power play lately?
Um, well, I thought about applying that love if Chikrin is
Hell,
still out. I was thinking Barrett Hayton point at minus 105. Uh,
yeah,
looked
he's
pretty
been
good.
he's been rolling. Yeah. What about
Um,
Michelli? Why does this guy
what's he
always
doing?
look good whenever I look at him? He's got some points recently. Probably all assists. Yep, all assists like usual. This guy does not do anything else. Um, yeah, he's got some assists and he's got a couple of power play points recently as well. Just interesting. If they're just a team, everybody's going to be really good value just because they're never looked at to do much.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably stay off of it, but it's
Yeah,
just worth flagging. I think that's
Markstrom,
all.
he could give up a goal right away. He loves
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
that.
we're seeing these upsets every night. I don't hate someone sprinkling on Arizona to win. Um, I don't know why, just being at home, and sometimes they're feisty like that. But eh, I don't know. I'm probably going to end up taking Calgary's team shots. Just seems like the best approach for me. But I love Hannafin. I think,
Yeah,
I mean, Backlund's been rolling. We didn't mention him. I know some people are on Backlund today. He's got 5 shots in 3 straight.
look at his point.
My only
My
concern,
gosh.
jeez, yeah, my concern with him is the road. He's just not as consistent on the road. A lot of these big games are. It's more the volume. I mean, he's hitting. He's just not shooting a ton, and that always seems to
That's
scare me.
the points are assists. A lot of the points are assists, and that's at plus 152. That's not a bad. I mean, he didn't have one against Arizona last time, but just with how he's going lately, some lots of points recently, and very good amount of them are. It's a lot of assists. It's a fine price right there. We like. I think about this all the time. We take half unit tries on goals a bunch of the times at plus 150. Well, Backlund plus 152 for an assist, and he's getting a ton of them. So, if you're willing to take a shot there, it's not a bad look.
No, it's not. Hmm. I
Don't
think
give
that's all.
assists enough love.
No, probably not. I mean, there's more assists and goals usually.
It's true.
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to really say here. That's everything I wrote down.
Yeah, I don't have much else. I think just that I like that we got asked about Dubé in the chat because I'm really liking that point play. Gonna lock that in.
All right, so why don't we try to recap here? Let's head to best bets. Um, I think we'll save one for Pickett play of the day, but some best bets sticking out to you after we just went through everything?
I have the half units on Sagan and Lee. Goal for Lee and shots for Sagan. Those are well, Sagan is strictly based on his historical numbers. So if you don't like that, then pass on that one. Lee's been looking really good um, lately, producing well, shooting. Awesome history against Winnipeg. So I was liking him for a goal. Just talked about Dubé Point, um, which looks awesome. And then Dallas, really like Hintz Point, and yeah, Robertson looks good.
Yeah, for me, I like the volume guys in that first game. Brock Nelson, Kyle Connor get their shots both at plus money. Um, I definitely am hoping it'll be plus money, but Sagan and Hannafin both at two are two guys I would love to combine if I can. And I think I'm going to end up just doing Calgary's shots. I've talked about it, but it just seems like the right approach for me to not try to nail down who it is that's getting involved and just bank on them shooting. All right, so let's go to pick a play of the day. It's probably making its rounds by now, but we're both on Andres Lee, the Islanders, to keep this ridiculous streak against Winnipeg going. And it just so happens to coincide with him having some really nice shot efforts lately and scoring as well. So, yeah, got to listen to those reminders when we set them. So, been waiting on this one for a while.
Yeah, it's but the kicker is the just coming at a great time for him right now. It's not just like a shot in the dark. It's he's looking good right now. So it's lining up. Uh, let's hope the stars align for us there.
And just go to statmuse.com and type Andres Lee game log versus Winnipeg. I just think it's something you would like to see. We broke down how many there are, but it's just one of those things that you should look at with your own eyes. So just pop over there, plug in that search, and I think you'll know what we're talking about. Yeah. All righty. Well, thanks for joining. I wish there was a couple more games we could have dug into, but what are you going to do? So we'll be back here Monday. Uh, thanks for joining, everybody.
Yep. Good luck if you join in on any of the plays. Hopefully we have a good one. These shows have been treating us well.